Purpose is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is not something reserved for the extraordinary. It is the oxygen of your existence. Without it, life becomes a cycle of meaningless motion. People wake up, go to work, pay bills, and repeat. They confuse activity with progress. But the truth is, busyness is not productivity, and movement is not direction. What you need is not more energy, but more clarity. You were not born to just survive. You were born to fulfill a divine assignment. Let me tell you a story. I remember walking on the shores of the Bahamas as a young man, looking out over the ocean, wondering why some people seem to make waves in life while others barely leave a ripple. And I heard something deep in my spirit say, the difference is purpose. The waves that shape the shore do so because of consistent direction. In the same way, when your life has direction, when it is driven by purpose, your presence leads. Your choices begin to matter. Your habits find alignment. You see, habits are not random routines. They are reflections of your understanding of why you're here. If you wake up every morning with no idea what you're supposed to accomplish, then your habits will reflect confusion, not calling. But the moment you become conscious of your purpose, your entire life begins to reorient itself. You start saying no to distractions, not because they're bad, but because they're not aligned. You start waking up with intention. You begin to carry yourself with quiet authority, because deep down you know you were born for something specific, something sacred. Purpose gives your habits meaning. It transforms an ordinary action into a divine discipline. Reading becomes preparation. Praying becomes alignment. Serving becomes sowing. Every choice becomes a seed that feeds your future. The problem with many people today is not laziness, it's aimlessness. People are exhausted, not because they're overworked, but because they're overwhelmed by confusion. They've been trying to build habits without a blueprint. You cannot discipline yourself to do something daily if you don't know why you're doing it. You need a reason that wakes you up in the morning and keeps you up at night. You need a vision that makes sacrifice feel like worship. You need a cause that turns every ordinary habit into an act of destiny. And let me tell you, your purpose is not something you invent. It is something you discover. It was buried in you before you were even born. The Creator never starts with creation. He starts with intention. You were designed with something in mind. You were not just born. You were sent. That means everything about you, your personality, your pain, your passions, are hints pointing toward your purpose. So you want to reboot your life? Don't start with what you do. Start with why you're here. Ask yourself hard questions. Go into the quiet place. Shut out the noise. Cancel the distractions and dare to listen. The voice of purpose is not always loud, but it is always present. When you find it, write it down. Let it become the center of your life. Build your habits around it like a house around a foundation. Because once you rediscover your purpose, the habits will follow. The discipline will make sense. The sacrifice will feel holy. And your life will no longer feel like a struggle. It will feel like a calling. And there is no force on earth more powerful than a person whose habits are aligned with their purpose. Everyone has a vision. Everyone has a dream. Some people even write them down in journals, vision boards, and New Year declarations. But the distance between what you see in your spirit and what you touch in your reality is one word: discipline. Vision without discipline is imagination. It looks good in your mind, but dies in your hands. Discipline is the invisible bridge that carries the dreamer across the ocean of excuses into the land of manifestation. It is the grind behind the glory, the order behind the outcome. And if you do not master discipline, your vision will torment you. It will haunt you in the quiet hours, reminding you of what could have been, what should have been, if only you had walked the path consistently. I've seen it too many times. Talented people, anointed people, brilliant people fail, not because they lacked vision, but because they rejected the process. They wanted the palace without the wilderness. They wanted the crown without the cross. They wanted success without systems. But God does not reward desire. He honors discipline. Desire may inspire you, but only discipline will sustain you. I remember watching athletes train for competition, waking up at 4 a.m., denying themselves certain foods, repeating the same movement over and over again, not for applause, but for mastery. What drives a man or woman to that level of focus? It's not just motivation, it's discipline fueled by vision. They know what they're aiming for, so they're willing to pay the price. You see, motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes. Discipline is a resident. It stays when the feelings fade. Anyone can act inspired for a week, but the one who wins is the one who keeps showing up when it's boring, when it's hard, when nobody claps, and when nobody watches. Destiny does not belong to the gifted, it belongs to the consistent. Edison will tell you when to sleep, what to eat, who to listen to, where to go, and how to talk. It sets a guard over your time, your mind, your words. It trains your body like an athlete, your mind like a soldier, and your spirit like a temple. Discipline is not just about saying yes to the right things, it's about saying no to good things that are not God things. There's a reason why Jesus rose early to pray. There's a reason why Paul wrote letters from prison, not just when he felt like it, but constantly. There's a reason why Daniel opened his windows 3 times a day to pray, even under threat. These were not acts of convenience. They were habits of discipline born from purpose. Discipline is how you steward your potential. It is the protector of purpose. You may have a great calling, but if your lifestyle is loose, your vision will leak. You cannot live randomly and expect results that are divine. Your future is not waiting on a miracle. It's waiting on your obedience. And discipline is obedience practiced daily. Every vision God gives requires a system to sustain it. If you don't build habits to match your hope, you will sabotage your own progress. It's not the devil that defeats most people, it's their lack of structure. They pray for breakthrough, but ignore the blueprint. But God doesn't just anoint you, He equips you. And one of His greatest tools is the habit of discipline. If you're waiting for perfect conditions to begin, you'll be waiting forever. If you're waiting to feel it, you're already behind. Discipline doesn't wait. It initiates. It acts when it's inconvenient. It sacrifices when it's uncomfortable, and it builds when nothing seems to be changing. Because discipline knows that every day you show up, a seed is being planted, even if the harvest hasn't come yet. So if you have a vision, start walking, start working, build the bridge, lay the planks of your future with consistent action. And keep walking step by step until the unseen becomes seen and your prophecy becomes your platform. A seed, no matter how powerful, cannot grow in the wrong soil. You can take the seed of greatness, the seed of genius, the seed of divine purpose, and place it in a toxic environment, and it will struggle, wither, or die. Not because the seed lacked potential, but because the environment refused to nurture it. That's how your life works. You are the sum total of the atmosphere you submit to. You rise or fall not just by what's in you, but by what's around you. The people you talk to every day, the voices you listen to, the places you go, the media you consume, the conversations you entertain, they are silently shaping your habits. And your habits, whether you realize it or not, are paving the road toward your destiny. I've seen people with divine calling spend years going in circles, not because they lacked the fire, but because they kept sitting in cold rooms. They surrounded themselves with doubters, with small minds, with fearful souls who saw their vision as a threat rather than a prophecy. You cannot soar like an eagle if you're building nests with chickens. It's a spiritual principle in the law of association. You become like what you're consistently around. If you walk with 5 lazy people, you will soon become the 6th. If you walk with 5 focused people, you will soon rise to their standard. The environment is more powerful than intention. You can have the best intentions in the world, but if your surroundings are contaminated with fear, negativity, and complacency, those intentions will evaporate under pressure. Even Jesus, the Son of God, was affected by environment. When he returned to his hometown, the Bible says he could not do many miracles there. Not because he lost his power, but because the environment lacked honor and faith. What does that tell you? If even the miracle worker limited his work in the wrong environment, how much more must we be careful about where we dwell? You must guard your atmosphere like you guard your soul. Not everyone can go with you into the next season. Not every room deserves your presence. Not every voice should shape your habits. You don't need a crowd, you need alignment. You don't need popularity, you need purpose. Some of you are praying for change, but refusing to change your environment. You keep watering dead plants, nurturing friendships that don't feed your faith, and wondering why you feel stuck. Let me tell you, deliverance doesn't always come with thunder. Sometimes it comes with distance. Sometimes the most anointed thing you can do is to walk away from what is no longer aligned with your assignment. Because your habits are not just personal, they are relational. You pick up behaviors, mindsets, rhythms, and language from the people around you. Sit long enough in a room of small thinkers, and your dreams will start shrinking to fit their comfort zone. But surround yourself with visionaries, with prayer warriors, with builders, with believers, people who speak life into your vision and challenge your complacency, and you'll find your habits rising to match your destiny. Environment doesn't just affect what you do, it affects what you believe is possible. Some environments stretch your faith, others strangle it. That's why God told Abraham to leave his country, his people, and his father's house. Not because they were evil, but because they were too familiar. And sometimes familiarity is the enemy of forward. If you want to reboot your life, you must start with your environment. Audit your atmosphere. Examine your relationships. Ask yourself, does this space feed my purpose? Do these people push me toward discipline? Does this environment reflect the future I want to build? If the answer is no, don't stay stuck out of loyalty to your past. Your future is too important to be buried in a graveyard of comfort. You were created to grow, to thrive, to multiply. And growth demands an environment that challenges, sharpens, and supports you. So choose wisely where you plant your habits, because where you live determines what lives in you.